want you to address for me, is the NDC not over-promising?
We've
seen that is a deadly trap. It's devastating. It's a landmine.
We are even being cautious. Look, I have told Mr. Mahama that if we wake up in the morning and all we do is have a president walk around our most poor, ask them what it is they need today, how do they want to be served? Imagine that we reduce the amount of government expenditure alone over the years since Akufo-Addo has been in office. Go and check. Huge sums of money. Office of Government Machinery. Mind-boggling amounts. Do you know the biggest challenge now for students on our campuses? Accommodation. There are people outside and working who pay less than the students on campus. If I show you my phone today, you'll be amazed. 11,000, 10,000, 7,000. Can you imagine that if SNIT stopped spending money on transaction advisory services and spend that amount of money building student hostels like they used to do, those are safe investments. Students will pay a lot less. And of course, pensioners will receive their investments and receive them in measured terms.
So now you're talking about SNIT's investments and some of the problems we've seen.
Absolutely. And we saw a former Chief Justice of Ghana who actually sat with these pensioners.
Right.
You understand? Absolutely. Look, there are still some amazing individuals in Ghana. And I think that, look, Mr. Mahama is being very measured. Have you heard him on any day wake up and start singing this? Why? Dr. Bawumia is campaigning. What has changed? The teachers are still suffering. The nurses are still suffering. Students are still suffering. The foreign exchange that he campaigned on, look where it is today. The Bank of Ghana that he continues to defend has lost 50 billion. Can you imagine how much that can invest in tertiary education for our students? If we invested that in accommodation for students, can you imagine what that would look like? So look,
with all this being true, though, and I hope I'm not truncating your line of thought, but with all this being true, since you've brought that up, I would have reserved that for later. Why does the NDC not want to engage the MPP's candidate, John Dramani Mahama? Why does he not want to face off with Dr. Bawumia? I mean, if it's this juicy, if it's this good, if you have all these points in your favor, inflation, the exchange rate, the economy generally, the central bank, I could go on and on.
The biggest one is corruption. Prices. And how that has denied our poor.
Why don't you want to debate the vice president?
You see, Benjamin,
what are you running away from? Why are you afraid?
You know, issues to do with political debates amongst our leaders are largely conventions that have developed as our democracy has grown.
Okay.
And in the past, when these debates were called for, nobody had any issues with them. In 2016, a new example was set once more by Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, then candidate Akufo-Addo, who declined an invitation to debate. Nobody beat him up for it. In 2020, he declined an invitation to debate. Nobody beat him up for it. The fact that John Mahama today is the opposition leader doesn't change the fact that Akufo-Addo refused to debate on 2 occasions. In any case,
but this is not Akufo-Addo.
As I say, this is a convention. And when you look on all the key indicators, genuinely, what are we going to be debating on? That they haven't destroyed our economy? That Ghana is not bankrupt? That they haven't borrowed 620 billion and counting and nothing to show? And that they even awarded contracts to do with COVID, stealing from sick people? And that so far, there's been no justification for the award of those contracts to those persons? Today, we are still paying a COVID levy. What are we going to be debating? And look, let me tell you one thing. Where is Dr. Bawumia today on all the things that he said? May his soul rest in peace. Parkway Mr. Arthur told us that this was a textbook economist. How many people bought into that? He asked him to answer 170 questions. Excuse my French, very foolish questions at the time. Everything is worse now. At the time, the dollar was 4 cedis. How much was a gallon of fuel then? How much was transportation then? Look, I am not sitting here because I'm an ambassador for the NDC or spokesperson for the Mahama 2024 campaign. I am a Ghanaian citizen like everybody else. Of course, I'm not one of those whose fathers amass enormous amounts of wealth to leave to his children so that we'll never be poor again. I work very hard. I have 4 children. I have a family. I have an 84-year-old mother whose pension cannot even pay for her medications. This is the reality that we're talking about. The National Health Insurance. Go to Kolebu and see.
We'll get there.
And yet go to the offices.
We're about to go to health shortly. Is this, though, not some sort of political tit for tat? I mean, I engaged Dr. Kwabena Arthur Kennedy, who said that usually the one pushing for a debate of this nature is the one who needs it the most. You realize that in the US, even though Joe Biden went for it, I mean, it turned out badly, but he says the one who goes for it is the one who needs it the most, and he feels Bawumia is in a weaker position, which is why he wants this. Dr. Arthur Kennedy has said so. But is it political tit for tat that Bawumia, in the last election and even before, had suggested, oh, if the NDC wants a debate, they should go and debate the Kayai. They should go and debate the nurses with their allowances. They should go and debate. Is that part of why you are doing this? I mean, in the past, so he should also go and do this.
Benjamin,
I've heard some of your party people say that's why I want to find out.
You see, let me be very, very honest with you. You know, look, I don't want to belabor this point. You understand? I think that Dr. Bawumia owes us a lot more than on any debate day. I think that for now he should be telling us on all the key promises that he made. In fact, Akufo-Addo picked him, a non-card-bearing member of the NPP, non-political actor, largely because he felt that he had the competence to come and deal with the economy.
The economic waste.
Absolutely. And I remember, and I always say, one of my most lasting memories of the 2016 campaign and how low it had sunk was the fact that Samira then was able to stand on political platforms, on radio stations, and chastise John Dramani Mahama. And nobody took her on for that. Please, if I said same things about Samira today, what would you say? So
I don't think it is fair to say nobody said anything about that.
My brother, find me a headline that you took her on, even in recent times, that you've demanded. Look, John Mahama and his wife have been model citizens. You'll never hear the former First Lady even talking about anybody's issues. She is supportive of her husband, of his politics, and she's a very amazing social entrepreneur, focuses on that. John Mahama himself, look at his trajectory. Just look at it. In all that you've ever known till date, you know, look, except for some of these idiomatic expressions and these little proverbs that have somehow, as Lord Mensa says, let's avoid using them because sometimes they are subject to misinterpretation and people will not look at the context and all. Yes, exactly. And I mean, even with that good, what was the reason? The man
I don't think we need to flog,
been so beaten. Exactly. Well, I still hear them. And look, in recent times,
it's done its work, so I don't think
Benjamin,
we need to go there.
We must put our leaders to strict proof. Let's demand fairness. I just ask for leverage. Listen to Dr. Bawumia even talking about a 24-hour economy. Why? Why would anybody be so desperate for power? What we want is that for the promises he made over the years, how has he fared on corruption, on state capture, on poverty, on the economy? Look at the wastage. Look at the wastage. Look at this PDS issue. Look at the matter to do with the National Cathedral, 339 million. Can you imagine what that would mean? Imagine that you even divided that 339 million and gave it to our rural poor. Gave it to these women who don't have any jobs. Look, one of the biggest challenges we face is the threat of unemployment, which has been growing exponentially since. Our largest demographic is now youth. By the time I became a deputy minister, I told you, I was already a head of legal. Imagine those who came after us, who for 10 years out of school have never been able to secure decent employment. And yet you have government officials opulently feeding fat on the taxpayers' money. These are the things you should ask Dr. Bawumia.
Let's